Hi there and welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2020 Forest Surveyor SVT 303 BHLE. If you notice right up top, you are pre-wired for an observation camera as well as the Lippert stair system. If you'd like to get set up with either of those, you can contact our parts department and they can get you a quote for that. If you notice at the back, you do have your 2-inch receiver as well as your spare tire, and then just located inside the back bumper, you pull this tube out. You can get your sewer hose once fully extended. It is about 20 feet long. Just take a note of these 2 ears there. Those are going to be the same 2 ears that hook up to your sewer outlet system, which I will show you in a minute. In this corner, as well as all 4 corners of the unit, you do have stabilizer jacks. The way those guys work is you're just going to hook your 3/4 inch drive tool, which is located inside the front compartment, up to this nut. Run this foot down to the ground. Once that foot contacts the ground, just giving another 1/8 turn just to snug it up. And it's going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. A little further up, you're going to have your black tank flush. The important thing about this is making sure that your sewer hose is connected and your black tank's open. That way you don't run the risk of bursting your tank, and all that's going to do is just flush out that tank to keep things that little bit cleaner. You got your city water connection, so you can thread a garden hose into there and turn it on. It's going to pressurize all the lines without the need to run your water pump. And then you got your cable satellite inlet, of course, and then your standard 50 amp twist lock plug-in. Just take a note of that silver strap there. It's going to line up with this silver strap on this side. You're just pushing those guys in, giving it that 1/8 turn to lock it down, and that you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do come to your standard 50 amp plug end. Most campsites don't have this. They only have 30 amp service. So we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter. Just keep it in mind when you're going down to 30 amps of power, you can't run both air conditioners at once. And then we also include a 15 amp park adapter if you're wanting to go down for more power from there. But whenever you do use that the 15 amp adapter, you're not going to be able to run any air conditioning. It's really just to run your lights in your fridge. Okay, right here is going to be your first sewer outlet. Both sewer outlets are going to work the same. This is going to be for that back bath and the galley tank. Just take note of those ears there. Those are the same 2 ears that your sewer hose had, and they just line up and lock into place. You got your black tank and your gray tank. You're always going to want to empty your black tank first. This is your dirtiest water filled from your toilets, and then you can come behind that with your gray tank, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Coming up a little bit more, again, you have your second sewer outlet. That's going to be for that main bath, the main bathroom, and the other tank, the other gray tank. And then you got your 2 low point drains. So if you have water inside your lines and you want to get it out, you can just open up these valves here, and it's just going to empty all the water that's inside those lines out. And then your fresh water drain is also right here. And then your second black tank flush is also right here. And then you got your freshwater connection, taking that guy, twisting it, opening it up. Put a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to fill your fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. And then you got your main tankless water heater system. Whenever you do go to winterize this, very important, you do run antifreeze through the system. And just turn it off and crack this pressure relief valve. That way you can get as much drained out as possible. This is the main power switch right here, so always making sure that's on when you get to your campsite. Inside this compartment here is where you're going to find your sewer, your 25-foot water hose, as well as that 15 amp park adapter I told you about. And then right at the front, inside this black box, it's going to be that 27 RV battery. And you also have the battery disconnect. The way that works is with the disconnect on, the batteries are connected, and if you were to turn it off, the batteries would become disconnected. Underneath this cover here, you do have your 2 20-pound propane tanks. Those work just like barbecue style, and you can do most of the time everything you need to do just from loosening up these guys here, moving them out of the place, and it'll open up this. You got your selector valve right up front here. So with it pointed this way, you're obviously drawing off this tank. If you were to point it the other way, you'd be drawing off that tank. If you were to take this off, you just slide the whole thing off. You got your tongue jack right up front, manual override. In case that tongue jack were to ever fail, we also include the tool for that inside the front compartment. One way is up, the other way is down. Opening up this compartment here, you do get to where your little dish tray is, as well as that water hose, so you can have water inside the unit. The way that works is you're just going to open up this flap, line up those 2 notches. You got 2 notches in here, and it lines up with the 2 notches inside there. Push and turn, it locks into place, and then to undo it, you're just twisting it the other way and it'll pop out. And then you can take your exterior griddle over here, open this guy up, and that'll latch into place. You got your 110 mini fridge, this only works on shore power. Slide this guy out. Your dish tray would slide on top here. Then you could slide this over to put your griddle on. Open it up like so. You take this 1 foot in the back right corner, loosen it off. All the other feet drop into place, and then you take this one, line it up with that hole and thread it back in, and that way it locks it into place and it's not going to go anywhere. Inside this compartment, you're going to have this quick connect propane line. Works just like an air coupler. You put that line down there, and you're just going to take this, pull that collar back, and push it into place while assisting that regulator. That way you don't break it. And then you just take this end and you put it down here into this. Pull the collar back again and push and lock. Then you got your flow valve. Opening up that flow opens up the flow to this griddle, and then at that point you would just light it. Added safety feature, you can't undo this coupler until you close the flow of propane, and then it would allow you to undo that coupler. And it would be the same thing for dismantling it. Again, just taking it, raveling it all up, and putting it away. Right here, you're gonna have your furnace exhaust. This is gonna be blowing out hot air whenever the furnace is running. You got your range hood vent, always making sure that this is open, allowing it to fumes to exit the unit. And then whenever you're traveling, just pushing it and locking it in place. That way you don't get any excess dust inside the unit. You're gonna see this little hole here. That's just gonna be a manual override for the slide out. You got a tool inside the front compartment that would hook right up to there and would allow you to manually operate that slide. This front door is gonna be just a secondary exit for the main bedroom that has fold down stairs. And then this door here is just going to be the main entrance. You're just taking that assist handle, pushing it up, folding it 90 degrees, it'll lock it in place. You can open up your door all the way, you get your stair set, pull that little knob over, it'll allow that stair set to start making its way down. You do have adjustable feet, so you can adjust it to your campsite needs, so it's sitting at the same level. Taking a step on inside, first thing you notice off to your left is just your fire extinguisher. That's going to be simple, pull the pin and shoot. All the controls are just located on the wall here. You got your awning LED, your porch light, your interior LED, and as well as the mood lighting, which is just some lighting above the slide out. And then of course you have your slide out controls, so pushing and holding that button out, the slide out's going to start making its way out. Slide out one is this main slide here. Always making sure you know what's on both sides of the slide. It's nice and clear, so you're not going to cause any damage by opening it. Slide out. Once fully extended, the motors do just wind up and cut out. Then you have your awning control, hitting that button extend, which is up, will allow that awning to start making its way out. Once fully extended, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. And that flap's starting to hang down. And there you go, you got that awning fully extended. Now if it were to start raining, you just take any arm, front or rear, and just pull down on it. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to then run off. If you like that angle better, you could do the same thing with both arms, and it's going to allow for more shade underneath. So always making sure you do push these arms back to straight whenever you're bringing it in. And bringing it in is just as simple as hitting that retract button. Once those arms contact the side of the trailer, the motors are going to cut out. You can let off that button. You're always going to want to make sure that you're paying attention to the wind speeds when you are having that awning out. So once it starts getting to about 5 km/h winds, you are just going to want to make sure you bring that in. That way you don't run the risk of ripping your fabric or bending your arms. And there you go. Just on the side of the wall here, you have what's called a solar controller. It's not really a controller, it is just more of a monitor panel system. It'll allow you to change between all your different settings. And there you go. It'll show you your voltage, what you're charging at, what your temperature is of that battery, and your amps, of course. Inside the bunk space, light switch is just on the wall. You do have, the bunk space does have its own little bathroom in here, just a sink and a toilet. And then of course all the overhead fans in the unit do work the same way. You got a light switch on the wall, and then usually there is a fan switch on the wall as well, or the switch is just in the corner. When you do open these up all the way, you're going to notice up at the top there, it is just open to the atmosphere. So if it does start raining, you got to make sure you close it. That way it doesn't get all wet in here. But if you were to buy a max air fan cover, you'd be able to run that all the time. You can contact a parts department if you'd like to get set up with that. Inside the bunk space, you got that bunk ladder. It just hooks into here and allow you to get up and down. You can push this bunk up as well, and it has these assist struts to allow it to stay up. And this also folds out into a bed. It is just as easy as the sticker says on the floor, just grabbing and pulling, and it would fold all the way up. And then getting it back in is just the same way. You got a fire exit in the back here. You got this little red tab. You're going to pull that. The screen's going to pop right out, and you can take this handle and jump right on out. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They're just going to kind of sit where you leave them, and one quick click will allow them to return back up. Just two other bunk spaces on this side here. All the bunks do have their own lights on their own center push buttons. And that goes for all the lights in the unit. They are all on their own center push buttons, so you can turn them on and off individually as you please, or just use the main switch. You got your entertainment center, of course, with your stereo. Going to be just like home, minus the fact of having zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 is going to be the interior speakers, and zone 2 is going to be the exterior speakers. You got your Furrion 12-volt fridge. Opening that guy up, you're going to notice in your temperature control area here, if you do turn it all the way to max, it is going to run just fine on shore power. But if you were to go to 12 volt while you're towing, or for whatever other reason, you do have to make sure you turn that over to off grid. Otherwise it won't stay on while you're traveling. Charcoal filter, of course, to help with some of the odors. And then just your freezer space. You got your microwave, which is just like home, not much I'm going to show you there. Range hood, and then of course your oven and stove, which works pretty simple. Although I'll mention that sometimes when you do have the propane off for a while, it allows air into the system, and sometimes it takes a while just to purge all the air out of the lines. But you just turn that over to the high/light option, and it does light. Sometimes it can take a minute, so don't be, if it doesn't fire up right away, just keep trying, and eventually it will go. But I do think I turned that propane off at the front. 1 minute, let me just go turn that on. Alright, that's back on. Again, you're just turning it over to that high/light option. Once all the air is out of the lines, it will just light and hold its own. Like I said, sometimes it does take a few tries just to keep it going. But once it is going, it does hold its own. And for the stove, it's the same process, except you're just watching underneath there. For the pilot, turn this knob over while holding it in. Hit the sparker, and that pilot lights, holding it in for another second. And then you can turn it up to your desired temperature, and it fires right on up. Sink, hot and cold water, some storage space all around, of course. And then you get to your thermostat. So you're gonna have two thermostats in this unit. This thermostat here is gonna be your main thermostat, and it's gonna control this back AC as well as the furnace. So if you push and hold that power button, it's gonna come on. It's gonna bring you to your last setting you had it on. It should be cool today. You can change your fan speed just by pushing a button. Automatic is gonna turn it into a on-demand system, so it'll kick in and out as needed, depending on what your thermostat is set to. Hitting that mode button will bring you over to heat, and that'll fire up the furnace. The furnace moves all its air through the floor portals you see around. And the air conditioner is gonna move all its air through this main duct here if you have this open. But if you do close this off, it will move all its air through the ceiling ducting throughout the unit. So whenever you first get to your campsite, it is good just to run this open, cool off the main living space. Once the living space is cool, you can close that off and start moving the air throughout the unit. Back to the thermostat, hitting that button one more time will bring you into fan. And then of course you get dry, so it's gonna try and take as much humidity out of the air as possible. And then one more time, it'll just cycle you back to cool. Of course, holding and pressing the button will turn it back off. Up and down arrows at any time will change the set temperature. Because the stove and the furnace both run off propane, we do have an LP detector down here. If that guy starts going off, you are just going to want to turn off the main supply propane at the front of the unit and just open up some windows just to ventilate it out a little bit. Underneath the fridge, you do have your main circuit breaker fuse panel. Popping that guy down. Whenever breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And whenever you have a fuse blow, there'll be a little red indicator light telling you which one's blown. Getting into the bathroom space, light switch on the left, as well as that fan switch. You get your sink with hot and cold water, toilet, and a shower, of course. And then on this wall here, you're going to have your main GFI outlet. So you got reset in the middle, test on the bottom. If you have that green light on, it's telling you have a successful circuit. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, it'd be the first place I would look. You got your tank heater system, so that's just technically a pad on the bottom of the tanks. When you turn it on, it heats up, kind of like an oil pan heater in a vehicle. It is they say for extended camping season, but unfortunately our Manitoba winters get much too cold for you to camp all the way through the winter. Really, it's just for like -5 at most. I wouldn't want to take it any colder than that. Then you got your monitor panel system, so you got gray 2, gray 1, black 1, and black 2 and black 1, and that just goes empty a third, 2/3, and then full. And then you got your battery, which will go low, fair, good, and then charging. To get your thermostat on, you do have to turn the water heater switch on, which supplies power to this, and then you can push that power button. It'll turn that on. You can push the buttons up and down to set your temperature. You can change it between Celsius and Fahrenheit. The power button again just to turn that off. Inside the bedroom area, you got your light switch on the left. That second thermostat I told you about, which is just going to control this air conditioner here. And then as you can tell, you do have the same stair set underneath this front bed here. If you lift this up, you do have the tools for the central vac system inside this unit, and you have some storage space as well. Storage space all around the bed. And of course, that front window. That's going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.